Eve, your local court jester.
I'm Cheyenne. I'm emotionally attached to J.D. Salinger.
And we just saw Rebel in the Rye at the Peterborough Community Theater, and it was real good.
Incredibly good.
10 out of 10. So Rebel in the Rye basically tells the entire saga story of J.D. Salinger's writing career from his beginning in college to him becoming a hermit who does not publish anymore. And it stars Nicholas Hoult as J.D. Salinger and Kevin Spacey as his college professor and Sarah Paulson as his agent. And it's basically just his writing career.
It follows from the first story he ever wrote, leading up to the publication of Catcher in the Rye and how it kind of took over America and the world and led to this whole big literary revelation, and how that kind of connected back to J.D. Salinger becoming a hermit in the end because he didn't like the attention that it gave him. He wanted to just be a writer. He didn't want to be famous. He didn't want all that constant attention.
J.D. Salinger learns he's going to get published by The New Yorker, and immediately World War II starts. Immediately. So he has to go off to war, and The New Yorker's like, hey, BTW, we're not we're not publishing your story anymore because it's a bit too frivolous for these war times.
Right before they go into, I think it's like D-Day, that they're going to have a steak dinner, and it's kind of like played off jokingly, but then he walks into the dining hall after having this whole big moment of like, oh, he's finally writing again, he's finally happy again, and they're having steak dinner. So the next day they go into battle, a bunch of terrible, terrible things happen, and throughout the rest of the movie they're serving steak, and every time they have steak he gets sad again. It's this big, long, uncomfortable scene, and I don't know if it's just uncomfortable for me because I hate the sounds of people chewing so much, but it goes on very long, and there's just the soldiers being very sad, shoveling steak into their mouths and chewing very loudly. And I don't know if it's something they chose to do or if it's just the way it kind of came out as to me, but the chewing is very loud, and there's not much of an underscore at all.
Yeah, there's no sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of silence and like gaps in the score, but like when there is score, it's wonderful and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But there's lots and lots of silence.
Nicholas Hoult, J.D. Salinger, 10 out of 10 actor all the time. And then Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey is absolutely incredible. They bill him as one of the main characters in the film. Like, he's on the poster, his name is very large on the poster, but his character doesn't play as much until like he's a lot in the first act of the movie and a little bit in the second act too, but near the end he's not in it as much. It's sort of like a secondary character, I suppose, like a secondary main character, because he has his own story arc going on, while J.D. Salinger does too. Like, oh, they've drifted apart and he's trying to reconnect. How's that going to play out?
If you're like an artist yourself, you're really gonna like this movie because it's like really gets to the constant existential crisis and the like there's like a feeling I think a lot of artists have that's like, I don't know how to do anything else except this specific art.
Yeah, there's a part in the movie where J.D. Salinger, they keep calling him Jerry. Jerry. He gets to this certain point where he's been locking himself up in this room and he has a wife and a child by now, and he's just kind of blatantly ignoring them to spend his time on writing and nothing but writing and do nothing else but writing, and that's all he's doing. And it's just kind of ruining his life, but it's also the thing he's the most passionate about. I've read Catcher in the Rye. I refused to read it for English because it was boring and I didn't want to do it, but I read it on my own time and I liked it a lot because it's definitely that kind of book where it's easier to digest if it's not being forced upon you to read. And so that's another reason it made such an impact when it did come out, because it was a book about that time and that era, and it gave people voices, and they talk about that in the movie a lot. It gave people who didn't think they had a voice.
If you've read Catcher in the Rye, you might have a bit of an understanding of like what they're talking about a bit more. Like, I've never read it, and I'm just sort of like, I vaguely know like it's first person narrative and the main character in it's sort of like known for being an unreliable narrator.
Oh yeah, he's the definition of an unreliable narrator.
Yeah. So I know that, but I don't really know anything else. But the movie still like got to me and struck a chord with me.
Yeah. It's definitely more about J.D. Salinger himself than Catcher in the Rye.
10 out of 10. would recommend. I give it 5 out of 5 notes from an editor that J.D. Salinger isn't going to take. No, sir.
Yep, I give it 6 out of 6 shots of Nicholas Hoult with a bruised face staring at a carousel.
Yes.
That's a thing that happens in the movie.
Okay, and then there's the trailer
Yes.
before the movie, which we saw.
Wonderstruck is amazing. It's based off a Brian Selznick novel, and if you haven't read anything by him, or if you're not familiar with him, his novels are absolutely incredible. Half of them are writing, and then the other half is just done like a silent film, but in pictures, and so you watch this one story unfold through the narrative, and then you see the pictures, and this is going on too. There's a deaf woman, and then there's a deaf boy, and they both go on these little adventures by themselves, and they tie in together in the end, and it's spectacular.
Second one was Mark Felt.
Yes.
It's like the FBI investigating Watergate, and the guy who's not gonna let them stop him from getting to the truth. And Liam Neeson is in it, and he's Mark Felt, and I'm on board for that. Current War.
Yes.
This is the one.
This is the one.
That really punched us in the gut before
Okay.
the movie. You're into this kind of history
I am,
stuff.
yeah.
And I know about it because of you, because you told me about it. So it's Thomas Edison.
It's about the creation of the light bulb,
Yeah.
and how he has this invention. How is he going to get it out? How is it going to impact the public? And then at the end of the trailer, you're thinking, oh, this is great. This is just a story about Thomas Edison. That's cool. And then in marches Nicholas Hoult, who just played J.D. Salinger, as Nikola Tesla. If you know anything about the feud between Edison and Tesla, it's intense, and so the movie definitely promises that sort of intensity.
And Benedict Cumberbatch is Thomas
yes.
Edison. And that's something.
That's a selling point.
Yeah, that in itself is a selling point. A bunch of people are going to go
Yes.
see this anyway, just because Benedict Cumberbatch is in it, and see The Imitation Game. So this has been Eve
And Cheyenne.
with Monadnock Beat. If you like this video, then you can look at our last one about it. If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, subscribe to the YouTube page if you want more videos like this.
If you've seen this movie, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about it.
Yeah.